Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV today. Last night's episode of SmackDown continues the rawification of SmackDown. It doesn't feel like SmackDown anymore. It feels like we're watching Raw colored in blue. The road to WrestleMania has been a very bumpy ride, and this detour, this speed bump of a pay-per-view known as Fastlane, is throwing everything out of whack and making things go completely bad. There were so many things wrong with tonight's episode of SmackDown, and we are going to talk about all of it right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare. You're watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's SmackDown Review and Reaction Show. Let's do it.
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
Vince and his clowns have done the unthinkable, something I could never have imagined going into this WrestleMania season. Do you realize that they have one of the most anticipated, one of the most highly wanted matchups in a long time at their fingertips? And the one thing I was not expecting was for them to blow this as badly as they have. Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair at WrestleMania is already a hot mess. And there is no reason for it. There is no excuse for it. There are two gigantic, huge reasons why everything they are doing with Sasha and Bianca gets a big, fat, tremendous sized poop hammer to the face. Right to the face, so all the shit can get in their eyes and up their nose and in their mouths, because it's disgusting what they have done to these two women. There is nothing more needed but the two things, two reasons why everything is going to shit, is Reginald and the Women's Tag Team Championships. It's almost as if the WWE doesn't know what to do with their women's champion without involving the tag team champions. Can't they be two separate stories on their own islands and let them develop separately? Why do we do this all the time? And then we have to have that tired trope, that played out situation. Oh, can the champion and the incumbent challenger get along long enough to possibly win the world? What does this matter right now? They shouldn't give two shits about a couple of tag team titles that mean absolutely nothing. They have been stagnant. They have been worthless. And for what reason would these women even want these belts when they are set to possibly main event one of the two nights of WrestleMania based off of their own accomplishments and everything they have done? You got Bianca Belair, the winner of the Royal Rumble. You got Sasha Banks, probably the best women's champion for SmackDown that there could be on that roster, one of the best women's wrestlers the WWE even has. You have two tremendously iconic personalities set to clash. The story tells itself. But instead of building both of these girls simultaneously to make the match even more impactful, we're sidetracking them, and we're going to have them want the women's tag team titles. We're going to have Nia Jax and her hole involved. We're going to make things even worse by getting Reginald involved, because we don't know what the hell else to do with Reginald. And while we are on that topic, what the fuck, man? Why are we seeing so much Reginald? He was all over this show, and he makes things worse. Not just by his mere presence, but he makes suggestions to Nia Jax that he shouldn't be making. And he told Nia Jax by the end of this episode, why don't you go to Adam Pearce and ask for a championship match next week on SmackDown versus Sasha Banks? And she's like, duh, oh, well, that's a good idea. And then we come back from commercial break and the match is made. Why is Adam Pearce listening to Reginald? Reginald told Nia Jax, oh, well, why don't you go challenge Sasha Banks? Well, why don't you shut up, Reginald? What does this mean? He has power in the WWE. What is he holding over Adam Pearce? Does he have dirt on Vince McMahon? Why does he have so much influence on the show? It's friggin' ridiculous. And it's made even worse with the vignettes today, or last night rather. Reginald was taken on a shopping spree for clothes by his new sugar mama, Nia Jax. This went on for way too long. Certainly didn't need to be happening at all. And all I could think of is they are so bad at coming up with new material that they're going back in the catalog. And they're going to that one other time that Nia Jax thought some guy was cute. And I have almost 100% certainty in my mind that everything they're doing with Reginald was written for when Nia Jax was supposed to be in this romance with Enzo Amore before he was so unceremoniously removed from the WWE a couple of years back. Nevertheless, it's insane to me that they're even doing this at all. And wouldn't Bianca Belair be pissed about this? Edge is certainly pissed that this is happening to him, which is a whole nother can of worms we're about to open up. That doesn't make very much sense. Why is Edge so pissed off about Daniel Bryan and everything that he has done with Roman Reigns leading up to this unnecessary Fastlane pay-per-view? You would think a guy like Edge would have nothing but respect for a Daniel Bryan. He could see where he's coming from. They both went through similar scenarios. Edge was forced to go away with an injury and now was lucky enough to come back, healing it up 100%. Daniel Bryan almost with the same exact story arc in his career. They could be making something out of that, but instead you got Edge standing out there saying, oh, well, back when I was building SmackDown, wrestling guys like Terry Funk and Batista and Eddie Guerrero, Daniel Bryan was wrestling once a week on the independents. Well, didn't Daniel Bryan, while Edge was out, be part of probably the best WrestleMania moment that we've had in the last 10 years? Probably the last great WrestleMania moment, when Daniel Bryan conquered the Authority against all odds. He's a two-time World Heavyweight Champion. He is no slouch. And he has an identical, almost, arc as Edge. And Daniel even pointed this out. They confronted each other at the start of the show. Daniel Bryan said to Edge that he respects Edge, but Edge isn't giving that back to Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan was talking about how Edge was talking about how he earned the title shot by winning the Royal Rumble, and though he has respect for Daniel Bryan, he doesn't like how he's gone about earning this title shot. Daniel Bryan brings up, well, you're the ultimate opportunist. You should know why I'm doing this. Daniel Bryan thinks this might be his last shot at a WrestleMania main event, and he's trying to get involved by whatever means necessary. But this brings up something else that's kind of confusing and makes this not make sense. Why does Edge give a shit if Daniel Bryan is the champion or not? His main event championship match for the Universal title at WrestleMania is set, no matter who wins at Fastlane. So is this about winning the Universal Championship, or is this about beating Roman Reigns? Because otherwise he shouldn't give a shit. And has there really been a lot going down between Edge and Roman, that they have some sort of blood feud, that Edge doesn't want anybody else involved? It doesn't make sense. If anything, it puts more of the odds in his favor. Because instead of a 50-50 shot, you have a better chance of winning because you have two people that you can pin in this matchup to win the Universal Championship. You could win the match by not even beating Roman Reigns and beating Daniel Bryan. It doesn't make sense. Isn't Edge supposed to be a good guy? Why is he so anti-Daniel Bryan? Oh, I don't like that he's stepping in my way. I don't like the way that he earned his championship match. He says, I thought, Daniel Bryan, that you were better than that, but you're definitely not better than me. I don't understand why this is bothering him. It doesn't really impact his status at WrestleMania. If Daniel Bryan happens to beat Roman Reigns, which most likely is not going to happen, then it's just going to be Edge versus Daniel Bryan. Wouldn't that be just as big, maybe not bigger, of a match for Edge than to do that with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania? It doesn't make sense. Why is he mad? Why is he mad? Why does he not want this? It's so unclear. And it was just kind of left hanging there. Which leads us to what happened at the end of the night. We have the contract signing between Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns. Roman doesn't want to sign the contract. He says Daniel Bryan doesn't deserve it. And then Daniel Bryan goes off on a tirade, definitely getting under the skin of Roman Reigns by saying that he was able to do something Roman was never able to do, and that was make Jey Uso quit, referencing the I Quit match that put Jey Uso next to Roman Reigns for the last couple of months now as part of Roman's tribe and his table, or whatever you want to call it. This made Roman Reigns so pissed off because Daniel tapped out Jey last week, but he couldn't tap out Jey, that he ended up signing the contract. Daniel Bryan signs the contract. Next thing you know, your regular standard contract signing scuffle is going to take place because Jey took offense to what Daniel Bryan says. He wants Adam Pearce to put him as a special enforcer for this match on next Sunday. And then Edge comes out. And he's like, no, you know what we should do? We're going to have Edge versus Jey Uso next week. And the winner gets to be special enforcer. Which I'm okay with. I don't mind that. But regardless who the special enforcer is, it's not good for Daniel Bryan. If Edge ends up getting in the way, spearing Daniel Bryan, costing him the match, we're almost on a guaranteed path to this triple threat match. And they're trying to build some sort of tension between the two babyfaces in the scenario, which really just doesn't make sense. I would be a lot more accepting of both of these guys if they were like, listen, I know what you're about. I know what you're about. Let's shake hands. May the best man win. We both have a shot to end this Roman Reigns era. Let's go out there and do it. And then you could have the moment in the match at WrestleMania where they're, where they end up having no choice but to beat the shit out of each other. It's so easy, yet they want to take the hard way. And then they go and do the same thing to Bianca Belair. They're throwing a Nia Jax title match in there, but I guess Bianca don't care. I mean, she chose Sasha Banks to face Sasha Banks, but I guess she don't care that there's a possibility that Nia Jax might win this thing. It's absolutely ridiculous. Just as ridiculous as putting two guys like a Dolph Ziggler and Otis on the same team. Bad enough that we're getting a throwaway 8-man tag team matchup. I don't care. Immediately, if I hear more than 4 men in a match at this point, who cares? Who really cares about these 6-man, 8-man tags? They're meaningless, they're worthless, and in this case, it's confusing. Because, all of a sudden, Otis is a bad guy. Now he don't give a shit about all the crap Dolph Ziggler did to him. He's only in the position he's in because Dolph Ziggler made him go down the toilet. His feud with Dolph Ziggler made WWE view him as fucking worthless garbage. And they took the money in the bank from him as a result. And not to mention all of the verbal assaults and the stupid meddling in his relationship with Mandy Rose by Dolph Ziggler. All of a sudden, Otis is just out there and he's cool with it. It just felt wrong. And when the Street Profits come out, I don't get hyped. I don't get a red Solo cup, a blue Solo cup. I don't care who's got the smoke. I got my own smoke. I don't need you guys to want the smoke. I'm good. I'm good. I don't need to see this act anymore until they decide to do something worth my time. Because all they're doing is pairing them with Giant Baby Son and Tiny Dad, who are now lost in the shuffle and absolutely storyless and are just a random tag team when they should be facing each other at WrestleMania. I'm going to stand and die on that hill if I have to. They still have 30 days. They could do it if they wanted to. But I don't think that Ray wants to do it. Maybe he doesn't want to fight his son. Why not give the rub to your boy on your way out? I don't understand. Anyway, we had this 8-man tag. The action was kind of fun. They do all their general spots. But at the end of the day, it means nothing. And the Street Profits and Ray and Dominic get a win over the tag team champions, which makes it worse. Because Chad Gable and Otis are in that ring. There is no reason for them to have Bobby Roode be the one taking the L for his team. He's one half of the champions. It's bad enough the team as a whole was going to lose, but you had to ensure that the tag team champions were pinned so that you could have some sort of logic in place when you're going to do the tag team title matches down the line. It's so stupid, and it's so senseless, and it makes people not care. In the back, we saw Jey Uso approaching Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman was he seemed standoffish, almost like he didn't want Jey Uso around. And for a moment, I felt that they're planting the seeds to start a divide between them or something, but I don't want that. I don't want that any more than I want the Hurt Business imploding. So let's hope that that was just a case of bad writing, which is always the case when it comes to WWE. We had also Kayla Braxton interviewing Seth Rollins, and I automatically turned off my ears because I don't care about what Seth Rollins has to say in his little leprechaun plaid jacket. What is with these jackets? We've been talking about it for weeks now. Every week, new jacket. Just ridiculous looking. And he's got this little black turtleneck on. He's wearing this leprechaun-looking plaid jacket. Maybe in celebration of St. Patrick's Day. Maybe he did it in honor of his boo, Becky Lynch, and maybe he just took it from her closet. It looks like something I've seen her wearing in NXT. I wouldn't be surprised if he's like, "Hey, babe, can I borrow this? Rollins. Embrace the vision of me as a leprechaun." He looks ridiculous. And with that jacket and every other jacket, our only advice to him for his whole entire wardrobe:
burn it. You should burn the jacket.
Every last one of them. Stop with the jackets, man. Walking out there looking like Reginald. That's bad enough. Speaking of which, we had the shopping spree come next. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler took Reginald shopping, and he went through this whole fashion motif, which was full of its own errors. Nia Jax is standing in one position, but all the photos that have been taken are from the other side of the fucking room, which clearly weren't taken by Nia Jax. That's very bad, inconsistent editing and planning there. Just absolutely ridiculous. The cheesy music underneath. Them in the store. Shayna Baszler sitting there on her phone playing the part of me. She was as disinterested as I was, and she was actually there. For some reason, Reginald buys a suit that he actually already owns, and we've seen him on TV in. And Nia Jax thinks he's cute. And now he needs to find some way to repay her. And I don't know what any of this is for. Or why this is existing. Why are we seeing all this Reginald? It's just fucking awful. Awful with the little romantic music. Reginald doing a backflip. Sitting on Nia's lap like she's Santa Claus. Ridiculous. Just as ridiculous as booking a rematch from last week, which is pretty much what we're used to getting from the WWEs. Every week it's just the same matches over and over and over again, but in this case, it was made infinitely worse by the fact that Cesaro faced off against Buddy Murphy this week. They had a decent match last week, but this match went about like 3 minutes long. Because Seth Rollins was watching from the main stage, dressed up like the leprechaun from Lucky Charms, and then he got involved this time. Last week he stood there and applauded Cesaro as he beat Buddy Murphy, and this week he got involved. He's causing Buddy Murphy to lose again for the second week in a row, and curb stomping Cesaro twice, leading towards their inevitable encounter, possibly at Fastlane, possibly at WrestleMania. And I'm thinking to myself while this is going down, where is Shinsuke? Where are Cesaro's other friends? Does he not have any friends? I know Sheamus is on the other show now, but we do know that he has been involved with other people on the roster, most notably Shinsuke Nakamura, and then they throw a huge curveball that smacked me right in the face. Because as Seth Rollins leaves, he goes through gorilla position, and there's fucking Shinsuke. So he was just standing there watching Cesaro get his ass beat and get curb stomped twice by this twerp. Why didn't he go out and help him? They didn't follow it up with a segment for Shinsuke, so what the fuck was he even doing in the gorilla position in the first place? Just watching and enjoying? If they pair up Shinsuke Nakamura with Seth Rollins, I'm already out. I don't care. But if this was their way to set up maybe Shinsuke getting revenge next week on the Go Home show as a roadblock to Cesaro, you see how it shorts out my brain? It just doesn't make sense. Why was he just standing there? That's his best buddy. They both just simultaneously turned face based off of great matches that they've had with Daniel Bryan. And now he's standing there looking at Seth Rollins. They said nothing, but they made eye contact. And I'm not sure if Shinsuke was pleased or displeased or pissed. I couldn't tell. It was fucking weird. It's totally weird. I don't understand it. I don't understand that any more than I understand why Kevin Owens has been reduced to nothing more than a talk show host, and why they keep doing the same shit with Kevin Owens. Oh, what do we got for Kev tonight, Vince? I don't know. Make him interview the girls like he did last time. Didn't we do this with Sasha and Bayley when they were the champs, and then we had the Kevin Owens show with the Riot Squad and the Iconics and all that shit? Why is he the resident women's tag team or women's feud show to be happening? What is the KO show even for? If you don't have meaningful, awesome shit for Kevin Owens to do leading to some wrestling, then I don't get it. I mean, he's great at his job. He makes it entertaining. He throws out a lot of jokes, and he has me laughing throughout this, but I shouldn't be laughing during a segment that's supposed to be building hype between Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks that just breaks down into complete nonsense as everybody that shouldn't be involved ends up getting involved. Nia and Shayna and Reggie interrupting are false, making his presence way overdone on this show. I did like the one line from Sasha during this segment where she said that she's going to be the Michael Jordan, or she is the Michael Jordan of the women's division, and maybe Bianca could end up being like LeBron James. Because for all of you little kiddies out there that love LeBron James, Michael Jordan was 10 times what LeBron James was to the NBA and is to the NBA, and it will always be that way. No one will ever be the equal to Michael Jordan. He was the bane of my existence. I hated him so much as a Knicks fan, watching the Bulls just steamroll us through the 90s. He's the greatest player possibly to ever touch the court, and LeBron James is fantastic for now. But one-on-one, LeBron's going down to Michael every time, and that's what Sasha was getting to. And if that triggers you or upsets you, I'm sorry. Facts, my friends, are facts. Count the rings, count the championships, and then get back to me. Anyway, that was more entertaining than anything that had to do with this show, and especially when you take into account that Natalya and Tamina, not Tamina, but Tamatalia, or Trash Compactor Duo, it just doesn't... Why are they even having matches with Sasha and Bianca? Do you realize Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair I don't think have ever won a match as a team? Why are they even getting a shot at the champions? You have Natty and Tamina steamrolling everybody right now. Last week, Sasha Banks got pinned by Nia Jax. She's getting pinned on the road to WrestleMania. This week, we got Bianca Belair, the number one contender, the winner of the Royal Rumble, getting pinned by Tamina. Tamina Snuka, the women's division's... What? She's their relative jobber. She's done nothing in years. Now you team her up with Natty and she's pinning a Bianca Belair 30 days from WrestleMania. How does any of this help anybody? And why are Natty and Tamina getting a push? Are they going to be involved in this tag team match now? Is it going to be a triple threat? Are they going to hand the titles over to them? All of this is unnecessary. They had the perfect out just a couple of weeks ago. The perfect out for all of this. But instead of having the winners of the Women's Dusty Classic take the Women's Championships to NXT, developing them there amongst the plethora of women's talents and a couple of different women's tag teams, allowing talent from NXT to be showcased on the main shows because, the belts can float from show to show, and doing everything to make things better for the women's division. You make things worse, and you have Nia and Shayna retain, only to give NXT their own women's championships anyway, which is now just totally overcrowding this company with championships. You didn't need more than one set of women's champions, especially when the given rule was already set that the women's tag team championships float between brands, but I guess NXT is not a brand anymore. I don't know. They had the perfect way out of this, and a way for Sasha and Bianca to just focus in on each other with just a few weeks left until we hit the biggest show of the year. But instead, we're trapped in this tag team division garbage, which does nothing but hurt everybody involved. In the long run, that's what it's going to do. And a couple of weeks from now or a couple of years from now, we're going to look back on this and we're going to all say, yeah, that should have been done a whole lot better. I'm terrified. I'm terrified at the future for Sasha and Bianca. That's why it's been dominating so much of this show. It's the most wrong thing they've ever done. You would think it would be about as easy as Michael Jordan winning a championship to get this match to WrestleMania, but it's just, they're taking the long, hard, difficult way there, and in doing so is pulling my interest completely away from everything that they got going on. Big E came back after 3 weeks off the show, selling the injuries from the stare attack by Apollo Crews. His promo was okay. I liked the emotion. I liked the acting that he was putting on here. I thought his intensity was really great. What I think set this off a little bit is the fact that he was scripted. He was obviously scripted, and whoever wrote this gave him all of these cliched things to say. Some things, I guess, maybe that he needs to remember, maybe even bullet points or something that he had to hit, which just were a little bit corny, were a little bit just generic. I guess is what everybody says. He even used the eye for an eye. Now it's time for eye for an eye. I'm going to get revenge on Apollo Crews, but beating you is not going to be enough. I need to destroy you now. And then he gives Apollo Crews an open forum to come out and take a shot at his Intercontinental Championship. We don't got to wait for Fastlane. We don't got to wait for WrestleMania. We can do this right here, right now. Big E was ready. And then things, once again, take a nosedive. Instead of doing anything at all with Apollo Crews, they flood it with a bunch of unnecessary nonsense before they got to do anything that even remotely made sense for Big E. You see, Big E was so fired up that because Apollo didn't come out, he extended an open challenge to anyone in the back that wants a chance. Okay, so who's going to come out? Constable King Dickhead Baron Corbin. He comes out, he's not even dressed to wrestle. And he says this, I'm not dressed to compete, but... And then I'm thinking to myself as I stopped listening, because the but doesn't matter. I don't give a shit at this point, and I didn't expect what was about to happen, but I certainly didn't want to see Constable King Dickhead versus Big E tonight. But the fact that he said he's not dressed to wrestle, while he's wearing an outfit that is very, very similar to the days when he was ruining Raw as the GM and wrestled in his little three-piece suit where he looked ridiculous. We used to call him Bellhop Baron, and because he looks like he worked at like the Hilton every week with his, all he needed was like a little wristwatch or something hanging. It was just, he used to wrestle in clothes just like that. What do you mean you're not dressed to compete? And if you have intentions on answering an open challenge, why didn't you go get dressed to compete? Why didn't you at least come out and have the first thing be said was, I accept your open challenge, just give me a minute to go put my fucking gear on, and then we could have came back from commercial. But no, he wants to start saying other shit, talking shit about Big E, and then Sami Zayn comes out of nowhere and takes the match. Because Corbin took too long to accept the challenge. So, Sami Zayn took it. Baron Corbin wasn't pleased about it. Big E didn't give a crap while the two of them were arguing on the outside. Big E's like, listen, whoever gets to the ring first gets the match. Sami Zayn took advantage, and we had Big E defeating Sami Zayn in a short but decent match because both of these guys are very good. But it all was for nothing. Once again, Big E defeats Sami Zayn clean, hit the big ending for the win, and then in a post-match, Apollo comes out, jumps Big E from behind, hits him with an angle slam, teases that he's going to use the steps once again, and then he hit Big E with the steps, knocking him to the floor once again with the upper hand. Segment over. Segment too long and involving too many other people that don't matter. And why are we even having a feud between Sami and Baron Corbin? These are two heels that are bickering over the same thing that are going to have no payoff eventually. And on that note, when is there going to be another King of the Ring? Is he just going to indefinitely be Constable King Dickhead for the end of time? Till the end of time? Till the end of days? We need a new King of the Ring. Actually, we don't. As much as I love the tournament and the aspect of the King of the Ring, they have lost touch with that just as much as they've lost touch with everything else. They don't know how to use a King of the Ring anymore. They can't even use Sasha and Bianca properly. What makes you think a King of the Ring is going to matter anymore? The last few attempts at crowning a King of the Ring have been nothing more than failures. Just add King Dickhead's name to the list. Once again, we had Kayla Braxton in the back interviewing Nia Jax for some reason. I don't know why she was even scheduled for an interview again. This is where Reggie makes his proclamation, our false, convincing Nia Jax to challenge Sasha Banks, which is gifted to her just because. Fucking ridiculous. And then the show ends with the contract signing, which we touched upon a little bit earlier. I thought this was really great. Roman continues to be very good on the mic and in his character. He was trying to weasel his way out of it, but not even Paul Heyman could save him from the fact that he's going to face Daniel Bryan because Bryan goaded him into it. He got the big dog pissed off and got him to sign the contract, so we are definitely going to see that match. And then you add in the caveat that Jey Uso made the challenge. Jey Uso made the stipulation of the special enforcer on the outside, only to have that be kind of speed bumped in its own way by the rated R superstar who wants to be the enforcer as well. So we are going to have a match next week. Edge goes one-on-one with Jey Uso. The winner will be the referee the special enforcer referee, which means he'll be on the outside, not doing any actual 3 counts or whatever. And we are going to have a women's championship match with Sasha Banks versus Nia Jax. SmackDown went off the air with Daniel Bryan gaining the upper hand. And after a little bit of your standard post-contract signing brawl, Daniel Bryan, after Edge pushed him away, hit him with a running knee and stood tall over the Ultimate Opportunist to end last night's SmackDown. And I mean, it had its moments, mostly the end and the beginning, but everything that they sandwiched in the middle had a little bit of something wrong with it. And that's why we're here, to make sure that you didn't miss it, because my God, this was a terrible show. It does not make me excited for Fastlane. We only have the 2 go-home shows left before the most unnecessary pay-per-view of the year. Even if Sasha and Bianca win, it just kind of brings everything down. You almost feel like they kind of have to win. They've been losing so much. They have to. Are they going to end up winning the tag team titles and taking that into the main event of WrestleMania? Championship partners colliding for the biggest prize. I don't know. Are you interested? Because I'm not. Let me know what you thought of tonight's show. Let me know what you think about what's going on. Let me know what you would have done differently or better in the comments down below. Don't forget to smash that like button if you enjoyed anything we had to do or say here today. If you agreed with anything I said here today, smash that like button. It really helps us out here on the channel. Share this video with anybody that you think would have a good time doing what we do here at Sledgehammer TV with us, and then invite them to come on and subscribe, and I'm going to invite you to do the same. If you are not already a subscriber to this channel, please consider doing so right now after you sat through 35 minutes of me ranting on one of the worst Smackdowns I've seen this year so far. You definitely are one of the people that belong in this family, the Sledge Nation. Full of my sledge heads. Right here on Sledgehammer TV. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the team for the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. Sorry, Thor. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue the Snowball. Most important member of the team, as always, each and every one of you. That, my friends, is going to do it. If you missed anything else on the channel, it'll be linked in the annotations up above. And don't forget to be here all week as we get ready to crash and burn on the fast lane to WrestleMania. Thank you all so very much. That's going to do it. We are out of here. We will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com. Boom. Click.